Hi, my name is Apurva Luty. I am CEO and now co-founder of Optimly. We help brands get discovered in AI search.
Before working with Jasper, what talent or leadership challenge was holding you and your company back?
We've been going through the accelerator program and have had really great traction. Started getting some early design partners on board, and realized very quickly that the business was scaling faster than we could keep up from a resourcing standpoint. And as a solo founder, who's not actually technical, I have a background in product, but I'm not an engineer. This was going to become a bottleneck for us on the product side, because I was not going to have time to manage the engineering roadmap while also doing the go-to-market and sales piece. So very quickly realized that this was going to be something that we'd have to bring someone on to do. And I could have gone a couple of different ways. I could have hired a founding engineer, but after a lot of thought and after speaking to some folks, really decided, hey, I want to bring on a co-founder, someone who is at that level where they can lead the strategy, not just do the work, and someone who ideally has this experience and has gone through a VC-backed startup in the past and knows what it takes to lead an engineering team at that level.
What made you choose Jasper over other executive search firms or talent partners?
We ended up going with Jasper after having tried to source candidates on our own, and by we, I really just mean me. I had no shortage of warm introductions and contacts within my network. On top of that, we posted on Well-Found and some of the founder-friendly kind of job hunting sites. We had no shortage of inbound for this role, but the problem for me was I didn't really, one, have the time to kind of do that initial screening, and two, I actually didn't know exactly what I was looking for either. What I remembered from my big tech days of having worked with really amazing executive recruiters is those are two things that, exec recruiters are really, really good at helping you with. And at first I didn't know if it made sense for me to kind of use the funds I had on this search, quite frankly, but given the momentum we were having with design partners and getting customers on board, paying customers, kind of made the call that actually, this was a very worthwhile investment, given that it would then free me up to do more of the go-to-market, the sales, and working with customers and showing traction to investors on the revenue side. And as for why Jasper specifically, and we got a warm intro through, we ended up going with Jasper after having tried to source candidates on our own, and by we, I really just mean me. I had no shortage of warm introductions and contacts within my network. On top of that, we posted on Well-Found and some of the founder-friendly kind of job hunting sites. We had no shortage of inbound for this role. But the problem for me was I didn't really, one, have the time to kind of do that initial screening, and two, I actually didn't know exactly what I was looking for either. What I remembered from my big tech days of having worked with really amazing executive recruiters is those are two things that, exec recruiters are really, really good at helping you with. And at first I didn't know if it made sense for me to kind of use the funds I had on this search, quite frankly, but given the momentum we were having with design partners and getting customers on board, paying customers, kind of made the call that actually, this was a very worthwhile investment, given that it would then free me up to do more of the go-to-market, the sales, and working with customers and showing traction to investors on the revenue side. And as for why Jasper specifically, and we got a warm intro through a mutual connection. And, we had a couple of different options. The accelerator that I'm in, they have an in-house recruiter as well. But I just really appreciated Jaden's approach, the fact that she has a more strategic view in terms of how and why, hires are so critical at this stage.
How would you describe the experience of working with Jasper and their approach to understanding your business specifically?
Yeah, so that piece was great, and actually, probably the most valuable, because there are a lot of kind of B2B SaaS companies out there that are emerging in this space of marketing and sales automation and using AI to help you kind of grow your business. And, I think for me as an early stage founder, as a solo founder, I kind of have this imposter syndrome going in of being like, well, why would anyone want to work with me? And I think Jaden took this really surgical approach, going through and not just looking at the role requirements, but also mapping the role requirements to exactly where we were at from a business, from a product standpoint, from a sales perspective, and said, hey, this is where you're really strong. And the fact that you have traction already with customers, you're revenue generating, this is how you value yourself appropriately when going and looking to fill this role. And I think that piece was absolutely critical. If she had just taken the JD and tried to source that way, I don't think we would have had nearly as good of a hit rate in terms of candidate quality. So big kudos to Jaden and her team. They really took the time to get to know our business, saw that I wasn't just another non-technical solo founder, that we had made some traction and we were far enough along where I think she was able to tailor her search accordingly to kind of find the best fit candidate.
What impact did the leaders that Jasper helped you hire have on your business or growth trajectory?
I think the biggest impact is really giving me back time to focus on go-to-market sales, customers, and more importantly, fundraising, which we're kind of in the final stages of preparing for a big seed round, hopefully in January. And, that alone is a full-time job on top of go-to-market sales and customers. So the fact that we now have this extremely seasoned leader who's joined, and, he was able to hit the ground running almost immediately and kind of jump in and take that weight off of my shoulders, and also just the emotional burden of thinking about the product. I know it's handled, which then allows me to focus more on everything else that the business needs a CEO to be doing. So I think that's the biggest impact so far, and I feel very, very good going into this fundraising round, knowing that the candidate that we brought on has done this not once but twice. He's fundraised before as well, and so I think I feel a lot more confident in going into this as a result.
When you think about the market, who would you recommend Jasper to and why?
The market is moving very quickly right now if you're in tech and you're trying to build a tech product. And the type of people that would benefit from this the most are the ones that recognize that speed can only happen if you have the right team set up front. You got to invest in the right people and the right type of culture and organization and values if you want to move quickly. And the axiom I use is go slow to go fast. Not necessarily that recruiting with Jasper was a slow process. I think it was appropriately timed. In fact, we went a lot faster than I expected. But I think that the thing there is, for me, is you want to invest in these critical decisions up front. Otherwise, they're just going to slow you down. A bad hire costs not just revenue and customers potentially, but fundraising. It can throw the whole ship off course. And so I think that would be my advice, is if you are in a position in a market where things are moving quickly, you have critical leadership hires to make, this is worth investing in because it's going to save you money in the long run. And making bad hires early on ends up having all sorts of costs, both real and intangible. I think going this route is really, really helpful because who you're getting is someone that has been vetted and that you can kind of establish that trusted relationship with, knowing that you're not having to do all the other pieces, like screening and trying to narrow down the candidates. The other kind of stage that I would look to bring Jasper in at is once you've kind of raised Series A and you're ready to scale. This is often when founders start to hire more senior, seasoned leaders. And absolutely, again, you want to make sure you're building the right team, right leadership culture early on as a company. And I think the best way to do that is to really invest both time and resources in that effort.